So building a shed, done a few little drawings. That's helped me work out the materials that I need for it. So as you can see, I've got a shed, a base that I've prepared here a couple of days ago. So I've got a couple of courses of bricks laid on some shallow foundations and concreted in the middle, and we've got a polythene sheet that goes down underneath the concrete and back up, and when the shed goes on it's going to trap that to the base and should keep it all dry. So this is a bit more than a normal garden shed really, because it's got a solid base, because I'm going to be putting some heavy things in it, and it does need to be dry. So I'll try and keep it interesting. We'll see how we get on. So the first thing I'm going to do is put the sole plate on, which is a piece of timber that goes all the way around the edge. I'm going to bolt it through to the brickwork so that when it gets windy it doesn't blow away. We'll see how we get on. Right, okay, so I've cut all of the pieces of wood to the same length as the walls all the way around. Now in the front here, this is going to be the doors, so we don't want the sole plate through there. So the first thing we've got to do here is got to get these to join in the corners here. So we're going to do a joint called a half lap joint, which will connect the two pieces of wood together but keep them on the same level. So what we'll do is, you see how those two bits are sitting there at the moment, we're going to cut half out of that, cut that away, we're going to cut half out of that, and they should sit together, and then we can put a couple of screws in diagonally and it will hold it together. So I'm going to get on with that. I've got 1, 2, one in the middle there, 3, 4, 5 to do. Quite hard to do on this little timber. It's normally easier to do on a larger piece of wood, but this is what we've got, so this is what we're going to use. Right, okay, so I've marked out the half lap joint here. So as you can see on the timber, I've marked out exactly half all the way around, and I've just etched out what material we're going to take out from the wood. I've done the same on the other piece. So as you can see, once we've removed the sort of hatched timber there, they'll sit together like so. So what we'll do is I'll do that now and we'll see how they fit together. Okay, so I've cut, let's just adjust that a bit. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut these bits out here and here, so corresponding cutouts. Oh dear, it's not very easy to do holding the camera. So, and then you can see one goes onto the other, and when we screw them together there and there, that'll be a nice strong joint for a corner. You can also use the same joint between two pieces of timber if you're going in a straight line as well. If you need to extend a piece of timber, quite a good joint. It's a very simple joint, but yes, half lap joint. So I've got 1, 2, 3, another 4 to do, so I'll crack on with that, and then I'm going to bolt this lot down. Right then, so I've done all of the lap joints on all of the corners. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knock up a bit of muck just to bed it on all the way around, and then we're going to screw it down using these masonry screws. So they just go into a 6mm hole. I mean, they're pretty big for this really. You could just use raw plugs and normal wood screws, but since some of this screw is going to be below our damp proof layer, you know, it's likely to rust in time, so it's going to take a little bit longer for that to rust through. So I'm going to knock up some muck, put this damp proof course underneath the wood, screw it down all the way around, and then we'll be ready to start building some of the walls. Right, so I've fixed all the sole plate down. So if I just turn this round so we can see, so we've got basically what we're going to do now, we're going to start framing up. So now the fun bit. Right, so here we are. What I've done is I've actually run some stud work through here at the height that I wanted this side to be. Normally with stud work you stick to a certain distance apart. This I've kind of evened out really across the width of the garage. So and also at the back here I've actually put the pitch in, so I knew what height I wanted it to be and I know what height that is, so I've been able to work out what the angle of the roof is. So the angle of the roof is 24 degrees, so the cuts at the top are 24 degrees. The cuts at the top of the studs that meet the roof are 24 degrees, and this cut here is 66 degrees because 90 minus 24 66, so that's the other angle. So that's what that is actually called a seat cut, and that's called a plumb cut. So but we know what the pitch is of the roof, so we can cut the timbers in for the roof. Being a shed, it's not built the same way that a sort of larger building is built, so it's all very light duty really. So I'm going to cut these studs in here. What I've done is marked out on the sole plate where I want them, and then I've got a spirit level and I've marked up to the top on each one, and then I can measure between the two and I know what the angle is, so they can be a good fit. So whatever I do on this side should be the same as what happens on that side. So we'll see how we get on with that. Right then, so we've got all the noggins in, which are these parts. So that's actually what the external cladding of the shed is going to be attached to. Before I put the cladding on though, I'm going to put some felt on the outside, and that's really just to make it ultra waterproof. The felt I'm going to use is this just simple basic roofing felt really. This is a sort of medium quality one, it's quite thick. Going to put it on with the stapler and get it all wrapped up, and that'll probably be me for today because it's getting a bit chilly. So right, so I felted all the way around the outside. Only problem is I've run out. So where'd you get roofing felt in a global pandemic? Don't know. So that's something I'm going to have to sort out. Coming along nicely though. Good morning. Right, so I have managed to get another roll of roofing felt delivered, and so I've just got to finish off the felting on the sides. I will felt the roof, but I'm going to wait because it might help me with some of the cuts on the back, because I've got to do the boarding on the back. And if I show you down here, there's not a lot of space down there, so I might have to reach over the top. So I'm just going to hold off felting the roof for the minute. The steel roof sheets are on order, so they should be here within sort of 7 days or so. The company's still operating, so that's not a problem. So I've got to put the weatherboarding on once I've finished felting. So this is the sort of pattern that we're going to use for the weatherboarding. Now I'm using these are gravel boards. They're pretty cheap and pretty thin, but we're going to be putting them on vertically. And the way we're going to do this, if I can show you down at the bottom here, is that they'll go on just to the bottom there, so it's actually on the outside of the footprint of the building. So what I'll do is I'll put one on, and then I'll leave a 10 centimetre gap, and I'll put another one on. So what we'll end up with is that sort of pattern, and then we'll put more boards to cover the gaps on the front, and fire nails through, which will hold it all together, which will give that sort of finish. So it's quite a thick build up really for a shed, but I think it's quite attractive, and it will last a long time, and it's nice and solid and secure as well. I'm going to do this on the back first, so there's not going to be an awful lot to see on the time lapse, but bear with me. I'll do the fronts and then I'll make up the doors. So right now I'm going to get on with some felting, and then I'm going to put the weatherboarding on the back. So carry on. Okay, so I've done all of the boarding on the back, all the way down there. That wasn't easy. So but what I'm actually doing is I'm actually using two different nail guns. Okay, so the first layer of boarding, I'm putting on like this, and the second layer overlaps 25mm each side like that. Now what I want to do to fix it is to actually put a single nail through both pieces into the stud, and that'll hold it. But what I need to do first is I need to put all of these pieces on first. So what I'm doing is I'm pinning these ones in place, and this is using this second fix nail gun. Now this second fix nail gun fires these tiny little brad nails, so they're collated. They're not really going to hold it very much, literally just long enough for me to be able to position them all. And then when I go along with the second layer, I'm using these larger nails, these nails, okay. These nails are galvanized, so they shouldn't rust, and they're ring nails, so they really grip very well. In fact, they grip the board so well that if you have to pull one off, the nail kind of stays behind and it pulls through the timber. So really secure way of fixing. It's one of the few things that we really use the first fix nail gun for. So this is quite an old machine now, but it's still working well. Probably had that getting on for 10 years now. But these things, if you look after them, they should last a long time. So yes, so I've set the camera up for you to see the side, so I'll get on with that. It's a beautiful morning. As you can see, finished all of the cladding. So the next thing to do is I'm going to make up a pair of doors for this opening. So basically it's just going to consist of timber frame, and then it's going to have the same boarding vertically on the outside. They're going to be quite heavy, so they need to be fairly sturdy. So I'll screw the frame together and then put the boards on, and then hopefully we can hang some doors. So we'll see how we get on. Right, so a few weeks has passed by. This morning I had the roofing sheets delivered, which I've put on. Pretty simple really, they just lap over each other and they have special self-drilling screws that screw it down. It's the ultimate really in terms of roofing. Zero maintenance, it's colour coded, it's got like a plastic coating on it so it won't rust or anything. So yeah, got the edging bits. I'll show you up the ladder. So as you can see, pretty watertight. What else have I done? I've put the hardware on the doors. So we've got shot bolt top and bottom, a big bolt in the middle, and these are the doors are made up. And it's a pretty spacious shed really. Ready to be filled up. So that's it really. I mean, one thing to note if you're using gravel boards, cladding, is that they do shrink. They shrink a lot. So when I made these doors up, these two bits were almost touching each other, but it shrunk back right away, and it's actually introduced a gap between the boards on the door. But you might have noticed that I put the roofing felt on before I put the boards on. I put it on backwards because the back of this roofing felt is black. So if I hadn't have done that, you'd better see straight through there, but you can't even notice that it's there. So that's it.